Hi boys and girls. Today we are going to be working on time. And as we know, there are two different types of clocks that we use when telling time. So we have the analog clock, which is the one with the hands and the faces, like the one behind me. I made this one just using paper, and then I found an old earring. So ask mom if she has one that maybe doesn't have a match, or she doesn't mind if you borrow. And I just kind of stuck it through and pushed the back on really tight. So that's all I did with that. And then the hands can move freely so that I can use it when telling my time. So I just printed that out, and I will leave the link below for you to use. Now for a digital time clock, we see those all the time. They're on our oven, on our microwave, on your phone. Mine is very hard to see. So there are digital clocks everywhere, and we see them all the time. And it's very easy to tell the time on a digital clock. What we are going to be mainly focusing on today is an analog clock. So telling time using an analog clock. So behind me I have two posters. Now these two posters are mainly geared towards first grade right now, because in first grade we tell time by the hour and by the half hour. So this first poster is definitely geared towards first grade or second grade review. And it says, when the minute hand points to the 12, we use the O clock. So if you see the small hand, like I have on here, the small hand is our hour hand. Like the word hour is short and the word minute is long. So that's why our minute hand is longer and our hour hand is shorter. So on this one, the hour hand is pointing to the 4, and the minute hand is pointing straight up towards the 12. Anytime our minute hand is pointing straight up at the 12, we are going to say o'clock. So this time says 4 o'clock. And when you read that on a digital clock, it is going to look like this. This one says 3 o'clock, for example. So we have the 3, we have our 2 dots, and then everything after the 2 dots is your minutes. So since it says 00, that is the same thing as it being told 4 o'clock, and this is showing it's 3 o'clock. Also in first grade, we tell time to half past, or the half hour. It says when the minute hand points to the 6, we use half past. It is half past 4 o'clock. Or some of my students would say it's 4:30. So when it's half past, this hour hand has to be in between these two numbers. So because the minute hand has went halfway around the clock, then our hour hand has to go halfway in between the 2 hours. So it's halfway in between the 4 and the 5. So since it's halfway in between the 4 and the 5, it is still 4 because it hasn't made it to the 5 yet. So now this says it is 4:30, or it is half past 4. What that could look like is, I do believe I have, we'll use the 3:30 one. So on a digital clock, it would say 3:30. When it is on the 6, when your minute hand is on the 6, it is 30 minutes past, because there are 60 minutes in an hour. So half of that is 30. So when you're on the 6, you're at 6:30 or 4:30. Okay. So when looking at some second grade standards, they start to tell time to quarter past and quarter to. So this is when you're going to start seeing your minute hand fall on the 3 and the minute hand fall on the 9. So when his minute hand is on the 3, it says when the minute hand points to the 3, use quarter past. It is quarter past 4. So when it is quarter past 4, it will say 4:15. Okay? Each one of these stands for 5, and it shows it on this clock right here. So each one of these stands for 5. So we go 5, 10, 15. So if that minute hand is pointing to the 3 and the hour hand is between the 4 and 5, now it is 4. Sorry, I guess it's not directly between the 4 and the 5. It's slightly past the 4. Sorry. When it's directly past the 4, it's going to say it is 4:15. Okay, so that is a quarter past. Now, when we have a 1/4-2, when the minute hand is points to the 9, we use 1/4-2. It is a 1/4-5 because if you've ever thought about this, there are how many quarters in a dollar? Good, there are 4. Well, it's just like that on a clock, okay? So they do it as there are 4 points. This is your whole dollar, or you start at 0, and then you have 1/4, 2/4, 3/4, all the way back up to the top. So when it is pointing to the 9 and it is almost to the 5, it's very close to the 5, so it's a little confusing. It's very close to the 5, but remember, it can't be 5 until this minute hand goes all the way back up, okay? So when this minute hand is pointing to the 9, it is now 4:45 or 1/4-5 o'clock, okay? And I know that's a lot to take in, okay? So what you can do is I have, and I will attach these below, all of the posters that I've shown you. I will attach all of these posters, the digital printout for this clock, and then the matching game that I'm going to show you in 1 second. This one I found only does to the hour and half hour. I'm betting you on Teachers Pay Teachers there are ones that go to the 1/4-2 and 1/4 and 1/4 after. There are many resources on there, and you can print them, or you can even take scrap pieces of paper and write 4:15 and then make your own clock. You can use a paper plate and you can write these on there and then just make little arms yourself. That is very flexible. You do not have to print this out. That is just an option. If you guys don't have a printer at home, it is totally okay. Grab yourself a paper plate or a piece of paper and just attach little tiny arms. Make sure your hour hand is shorter, make sure your minute hand is longer, and then you can just work your way around the clock. On scrap pieces of paper, you can write 4:15, 5:15, and then practice doing that just by using the digital clock read. And on the matching one, it actually has, so what it has is it has the digital reads over here, and then it has their match right beside them. So what you're going to do is what I did. I cut all my pieces apart, and so now I have my digital reads and I have my analog clocks. And I could do a cool little matching game where I put them up and I put all my pieces out in front of me, kind of like where you turn them over and see if they match. So you could do the turnover and see if they match with the clock. So if I were to turn 2 over right now, I could look at this clock. I need to say it before I can flip something else over, so I know exactly what I'm looking for. So if this hand is between the 3 and the 4, it hasn't made it to the 4 yet, so I still know it's 3. So it's 3, and if it's pointing to the 6, it's 30. Good. So it is 3:30. So I know I'm looking for a 3:30 when I flip over. This is the one I flipped over. Does this say 3:30? No, it doesn't. It says 1:30. So I'm going to flip my pieces back over, flip something else over. Let's see this one. Okay. So my little hand is pointing to the 1. And my big hand is pointing up to the 12. So my minute hand is pointing up to the 12. So that means I should have what time? Good, 1 o'clock, because it's pointing straight up. So what I could do is I could flip over a card. See? Ooh, there it is, 1 o'clock. I have a match. You can even do this with your parents, and you can go back and forth, or maybe have all the analog clocks for a half hour in one pile, all the analog clocks for an hour in another pile, and play Go Fish. Oh, I have 1. Do you have 1:30? Or do I have 1:30? Do you have 1 o'clock? So you can partner up like that. So a little Go Fish game. So there are many different ways that you can use just these simple resources. If you need any help or suggestions, just have your parent message me or comment below, and I can help you with all those resources. And like I said, I will tag all the links in the description below, so if your parents want to go on there, they can. I hope this was helpful, and I will see you soon.